Okay. I think my hands tell the story. This is me after having brushed. This has been my day since 5 a.m. this morning. I was never ready. I've had an incredible, like the 3 days leading into Pluto's transit, and the 3 days since have been something unbelievable. I have never experienced anything like this in my life, but I am emerging out of this with an understanding of everything that I have ever experienced in life that I never understood the causes behind. But suffice to say, sorry if you see me looking down, it's because I'm trying, I animate with my hands. So I'm just trying to clean my nails while we have this conversation and we wait for Vangile Makwakwa to join us. She is my sister. Y'all know I'm a fashionista. If this doesn't say struggling while done through beauty, yona leyo. Listen, bare face, this is sweat, not anything else. And my sister, in this book cover, this book cover was her book, debut book, published in 2012. And just to preface everything that we're going to be talking about during today's live, let me tell you about this book. My sister just hung out all of our family's laundry to dry in this book. She used our experiences, her experiences of what it was being a child of struggle and the reality that both our parents were the golden children. My mother was the golden child, my dad was the golden child, and that meant a lot of being put on the back burner in favor of the people whose Am I still live? My sister was calling saying that the link is not joining. I'm hoping that my screen will unfreeze. I don't know what's going on. Refresh. Okay. Add, turn around. Oh, I'm unfrozen. Here she is. Ooh, Lavi. Hi, Vangile. Miss Vangile Makwakwa. Looking as gorgeous as ever. I was telling them about this book cover and the insane ride that the last 84 hours have been me, because as Pluto transited, you and I haven't had a chance to speak at all, right? I'm just gonna blom this right here so that they know who it is we're talking to today. But let me start with the most recent one. And this is how much it's costing me. This is how far since December. This is how much. This is how much. Anytime it's okay.
I'm gonna get the copy of the book. I completely forgot it on the other thing in the midst of trying to join.
Now, so telling you guys about that lady and me and 2012, she writes this book, and I'm a stylist. I'm in Johannesburg. I'm working on bringing strategy and styling into one thing. And my sister needs a book cover, so I style it. And this is on the rooftop of Arts on Main, right, where I lived in Maboneng at the time. And that bag right there was a bag that we had bought. Um, it was a no label bag. She had wanted new handbags and said, "Come with me. I want to um, get your opinion. You're this fashionista," because I've always made clothes for her or her special occasion stuff. So she said to me, I need new handbags because, going back to corporate, career, yada, yada. And I need two handbags. I want a work handbag and I want like a weekend handbag. And I chose this handbag and I explained to her that this handbag, it was made out of like a jelly material, right? And I said, the shape of this handbag and the design of this handbag is inspired by this bag called a Birkin. And as a fashion designer and personal stylist at the time, I had a client, Sade. She is also a child of struggle, and her parents met in exile, and they were from different countries. So her father's country being liberated, which is Nigeria, um, they were able to begin life in Nigeria and work, and because her mother's country of birth is Lesotho, and Lesotho's political situation has always been to some end, not political, but I guess, yeah, political and financial, has always been tethered to ours, being that they're in the heart of the highest point. Her mother's country of birth, she couldn't return to. Uh, Her mother was fighting for South Africa's freedom as a Mosotho, went into exile. But anyway, life passed, and I don't remember exactly why it is that her mother was finally able to return to Lesotho, but she did. And one of the gifts that her father had bought her and her mother, because I mean, she's younger than me, and like, she's phenomenal. Okay, she is a lawyer, and if you ever, like, I would refer her. She is, whew, goodness. But I can't remember what kind of law she does. And all I know is that everybody in that office used to wear Valentino. She was my client. And one time she came over for a fitting and she was carrying a bag of this shape. And I said, "That's a beautiful bag." And she said, "It is. Try it on." And I tried it on and it was heavy. And I said, "What the hell? Why is it so heavy? It's what's in here? It's empty. It's a coin purse and her phone and her car keys." She says, "It's a Birkin." And I said, "What's a Birkin?" And she told me the story behind the Birkin. And I said, "I want that in my future." So when my sister said she wanted a work bag, I chose a bag inspired by the Birkin, right? And then this is 10 years before this book is published. When she signs the contract for this book, it just so happens to be that after 20 years of being a stylist and maintaining networks with resellers, I am able to secure two Birkins, both of them almost as old as we are, perfectly fine by me. A Birkin meant to last a lifetime anyway. Mine is a little bit younger. She's about 18 years old. My sister's is a little bit older. She's closer to 30 years old and an exotic skin. And it's just, all I'm saying is one thing leads to another. And we are talking about causality in this conversation. And we're talking about community and how community and interacting with people and interacting with yourself and your identity and all of these elements makes you the person that you are, and why it's important for us as individuals to participate at this time. Um, Forgive the length of this preamble, but I think it's necessary because we did start an hour later than intended. And that was because we bumped into some technical difficulties. And we were on level something else, which meant I would only have load shedding at 9 p.m. today, one slot. I was cool. I was grand. When we get load shedding here with a blackout, it used to be that it affects MTN, but Telkom, Vodacom are grand. Then it started affecting Telkom. Now it affects Vodacom as well. It took us an hour on a Vodacom line to be able to connect, and when it hit that, guys, I need you guys to back me up. I'm not going to be able to jump on. I had asked Makhosi Kanyesa to hold the fort for me. And interview my sister about her book while I manage the difficulties, because when load shedding ends, it still takes time before the internet allows you to come on. For instance, it took from 5 p.m. until 6 p.m. for me to have a connection. Now, let me say that to say this, that today we are gathered in the name of supporting Palestine in their struggle for the rights that we enjoy post-apartheid, right? If you're in this room, you believe that they are people worthy of our support. However, there are people who don't think that they are worthy of our support. And furthermore, think that the technical difficulties and the poverty suffered in Zimbabwe is not a South African problem. The problem suffered in Sudan, not a South African problem. But there was a time when we used to laugh at the countries whose people were coming here because we have it good. Look at what the electricity has shown us. You laugh at them and then it's you. So when you're fighting for your neighbor, you're fighting for yourself. And because this is a collective experience, we collectively wanted to gather here today. We had set that intention, and we all were affected by this thing. It just so happens that I am Isangoma, and I'm a very preemptive person, and I try to put stop gaps in place. But if you watched yesterday's live, you will realize that I am indeed Isangoma, and I also don't know who was in that session. Um, Guys, I love every Josie that speaks through me. Um, there are 9 in total. Umakhosi Nomabutho is just Ubaba. Kuwo wonke amadlozi, and the eldest amongst them, and the person who normally holds court in these spaces. And yesterday we had the presence of someone else, and they needed to have that conversation with you because that conversation was a warning. And the people in my life who experience me when I warn them, they experience that person speaking 100 miles an hour, my voice bolting out of my body at the speed of lightning, and a series of facts delivered with correlating events, lots of calculation, lots of facts, and a lot of backstory to inform what is being said. If you listen back to that conversation, I hope that with the pace that this year is clearly taking, that at some point in this year, I am able to, because that conversation is not for today, it is not for 2024, it is for the next 20 years. The purpose of that was to warn us, me included, right? And the warning that I took was do what you can while you have the strength to. Because I know that sometimes things happen, and when they happen, it rocks me. And it rocks me on a personal level because I have wounds, emotional wounds from childhood, multiple failed marriages. It's a lot. And when things happen in my life, I can get lost. That's why honey can get lost and struggle. That's why you have seen the level of inconsistency you saw on this platform between 2020 up until now. Because January of 2020 was when I went through my second divorce, and it rocked my sense of identity. And it went to all of my inner child wounds, and it worked. And then somehow, in all of that, though, I was doing this work that came to be clearing into consciousness the first time my sister and I co hosted a retreat overseas, um, in Sri Lanka. And it was a time of insurgents. NATO powers paid capitalist entities within Sri Lanka to stage what looked like Tamil or Buddhist extremists bombing Catholic churches on Easter Sunday morning. That morning, 4 a.m., I woke up, the same ancestor that you saw channeling, ran through the hotel that I was in Ratnapura. I had gone there to look for a very specific gemstone because the gemstones that sit in our horns are unique, and this is a gemstone that can only be found in Ratnapura in Sri Lanka. And I had set aside the week to make time and visit all the jewelers and everything. And this is a business city, and I arrive on Saturday night. I get the last hotel. They're expecting their guests to arrive on Sunday evening. Um, it's a business city. Nobody's there on a Saturday. I arrive, it's relaxed. Okay, it's an empty hotel. It's literally me and some guy who's gone on a hike to something called something something Foot Mountain, which is an hour away from Ratnapura. And really nice young guy, Russian, I think he was, amazing hotel owner. And we have dinner on Saturday night, just the three of us. Stunning, beautiful, amazing. This guy's going to another hike, yada yada, an hour away. He's gonna leave at 4 a.m. 4 a.m., the hotel owner is only awake because this guy's just been set on his road with the tuk-tuk. He's going to hike that place, and then from there he's gonna set off further along on his journey. So I'm not gonna see this guy again. It's gonna be business travelers arriving today. I run out in only my gown and my undergarments. Listen, I was sleeping in my panty, okay? And I just grabbed my gown, like my morning gown, which was a very lightweight silk gown. You've seen it here. It's got a bit of an organza frill. I can't remember if it's Max Mara or Givenchy, but it's a beautiful. It's beautiful. You're gonna see it in the Valentine series again. Anyway, so I'm in that gown and I run upstairs. I'm barefoot and I'm screaming, "They've bombed! They've bombed! They've bombed! They've bombed!" And the hotel owner is losing his fucking mind because he's switching on all the TVs. This is a married man. He's only slept in the building because I'm in the building. Ordinarily, if I was the only person there, his wife would have probably come to sleep there as well so that it wouldn't, he's expecting his wife by 9 a.m. People will only be arriving after 2 o'clock. And now he's got a half naked Black South African woman screaming about bombs in his entrance hall at 4 a.m. I don't know what time the first bombs went off, but I know that I spoke with my sister when she was leaving Candy on her way back to Colombo, the capital city. And
Not Candy.
where were you
Where was
driving back
I?
from? Tell the story from that part.
No, it wasn't Candy. It wasn't Batikloa. It was
Are
right
you sure
next
it
to
wasn't?
Batikloa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Candy because Candy's in the mountains and we were by the sea.
You were,
I
weren't
remember.
you where we ended up hosting? No, you weren't. You were somewhere else. You were on
No,
the East
no, no, no,
Coast.
no.
You were further
Yeah, I was
east.
on. I don't know what coast because I don't know directions like that. But
And
it
you
was I
say
was
to
near Batikloa, and Batikloa is one of my favorite cities in Sri Lanka, which is about 60 kilometers away. 60 kilometers away was Batikloa, and I actually was fighting for us to go see it because I love it so much. But luckily, we didn't go because that's where one of the first bombs went off in the morning.
Hey! Makhosi.
So
And
we
now,
went there. But I remember because we were with Mangala and we were trying to get hold of you. And instantly, when the first bombs went off, technology was cut off because obviously one of the things that happened in Sri Lanka at the time was that the bombs went off simultaneously in
we
different
lost your
cities
network.
around Sri Lanka. So it kind of created this uncertainty, which was the aim of the bombs, right? Which was
Lavi,
the drive
asikuzwa
that
yazi.
nobody would feel
Oh,
safe
is it
in
me?
the country. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are able to just tell us in the comment section. Please give us a like if you can hear everything all right. Okay, I can hear better now.
Yeah, sorry, it was me. I play around with these earphones and then they lose the sound, right? But I'm gonna stop touching them. But anyway, yeah, so we were close to Batikloa, and then all tech went off. And Mangala literally just looked at me and said, if this is the day we're gonna die, we're gonna meditate and it will be fine. We're
Marcos
not gonna
Kanyisa,
die
you
with
said you
fear.
can't hear her either, but that was 1825. It's a minute ago, and we've got a delay. But I got a like that was telling me that you can hear. You can hear now, Marcos. Continue.
Yeah, so that was it. I mean, it was a crazy moment. But yeah,
So,
we didn't know where Honey was because Mangala stays in another place, Jael. I'm trying to see. It's almost like going from, say, Nelspruit, the distance like maybe Nelspruit in Pumalanga to Johannesburg. And then, so it's kind of like a long distance from where she was in Jaela, where we were going back home in Jaela. But where we were on the coast to where Honey is now, say, from like Nelspruit to Durban, right? So there was no way to get to her in time. And then we also didn't know where she was staying because Sri Lanka is relatively safe most times. So we had no way of knowing where she was staying even. But we all knew one thing, like Sri Lankans are incredible, that if she's with someone who is Sri Lankan and the hotel owner is Sri Lankan, she's protected and she's taken care of and that they would take care of her. But then the issue became that we couldn't call our parents at all. We couldn't let family members know. The world is watching. There's no cell phones. There's no technology. We can't reach each other. There's nothing that can go in and out because if they allow people to communicate, then the bombers can communicate with each other. So the entire country goes dark. And funny enough, then in the midst of all this, we realized that there's one platform that is working, X, which was then Twitter, right? Somehow we all figure out that of all the platforms that they could shut down for us to all get news to each other, it's Twitter, right? And so we were able to just connect via Twitter. But
yo,
then they also instituted, like, what's this, like a curfew, right, honey? By like 6 p.m., everybody had to be indoors, right? Because then the army was operating, everything was just going chaotic. But yeah, that was a very, very intense period, but really also very life changing because of Mangala. She was like, because none of us knew where the bombs were. So as you're driving through the country, everybody is scared and we don't know where are the bombs. Like because they're going off sporadically in different cities. They've been planted, everything. And I just remember Mangala saying that one thing we're not going to do is die with fear in our hearts. We're going to meditate, and whatever happens, happens, you know? And yeah, we were able to get word to Honey. And I remember screaming at her because the very next day she was insisting on coming to us in Jayala, and we didn't know, and she had to go through Colombo. And I remember her saying, if you keep screaming at me like this and then the bombs go off in Colombo, this is literally going to be the last conversation you ever have with me. And it will be a conversation where you screamed at me to say that I shouldn't come to you, you know? So then she absolutely insisted on coming through to Jayala to be with us. And we couldn't meet her halfway. We're not allowed to leave. And I don't know how that journey went.
Oh God. You took me
It
so,
was a very,
I
very
cried.
intense time. It
I
was a
really
very,
actually
very
cried
intense time.
because, you know, where I was going with that conversation was somewhere else. And then you jumped ahead to like the entire day, and I was still in 4 a.m., between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. And even where you pick up the story today is after I had even managed to put out a YouTube live. I remember at 11 a.m. Sri Lankan time, so it would have come live in South Africa at about, I don't know, but if you look April 2019, you will find that on the date of Easter Sunday. And I was just saying, this is a PSA to let everybody know that I'm alive, my family is alive, we cannot get out a word out, but I know that this platform is working. Please just don't be worried, but pray for us. And these are the people that I find myself amongst, because it wasn't even 6 hours. It wasn't even midday. And the broadcasts on the TV were saying, stay in your houses, the blood banks are full. People heard that bombs went off and everybody flooded to every hospital. And they flooded the hospitals and they filled the temples with prayer. And this man's family came and they, oh God, Jesus.
So I'll just say I'll try to explain what happened in Sri Lanka. Sorry, Honey. But when everything, this is also why I love Sri Lanka so much, right? The first instinct wasn't for everybody to run and hide. As soon as people heard that bombs went off, the first thing people did was to figure out, how do we help everybody that has been affected. So everyone rushed to donate blood. Then the next thing that people did was they rushed to the temples. So that's also like what Mangala was saying, right? That we're going to sit and meditate. We were far from the temple. So the first thing we did was to figure out, she just said, come, we're all going home. We all got in the car. We found out that, like, uh,
I'm sorry.
can you guys still hear? No,
We
it's
can
fine.
hear. We can
So,
hear. Sorry,
yeah.
it's just
So
I
we,
blow my
yeah.
because it's not
So
and
we
run
all
cry.
found out. Yeah, sorry. So we all found out what was happening, but I feel like those moments really, in South Africa, we are so lucky because we have never had to experience those moments of fear and chaos, and we know what peace looks like, right? But also, I feel like we are so lucky to have been in Sri Lanka at that time because we saw what Ubuntu also looks like, what it looks like for people to show up for other people. That's why, like, I kept saying to Honey on the phone, you are fine. Like, as long as you're with someone who is Sri Lankan and you are in their home, it doesn't matter what is happening. They are going to look after you. They will put you first. They will make sure that you are looked after because they have that whole spirit of Ubuntu. But people didn't run, they didn't hide, they didn't try to pretend that this wasn't happening. And the other thing is whatever factions they were trying to, whatever kind
Nothing.
of friction, they tried. People were literally like hugging Muslim people. Buddhists were hugging Muslim people. Like
I
people
think
were aware that a person is a person, you know?
ngicela ukungena emlonyeni at that point because our storytelling styles are very different, and I'm a very like detail orientated person, and you go, and I go. So my sister's an Aries sun, and Mars is her chart ruler. She's also, chock-a-blocked with lots of fire in her chart, which means she's a person who's very fast to take initiative, very quick to see things, right? And may not wait for correlation before taking action. It's like, this is the right thing to do now, we're going. Zobona pambili, angisabi lutho, and that's got two reasons. Firstly, her Aries stellium and Mars, the chart ruler, just means she's going to be all fire all the time, and she is going to go through like open roads she doesn't even know she's opening, and like break boundaries she doesn't even know she's breaking. And it's twofold. Just to explain, because we started an astrology lesson yesterday, we might as well carry on with it because apparently that's going to be the theme of this week. So what that means, the other thing is also to my mother, my sister is a firstborn child. Now, you already know about me if you watched yesterday. Pluto's my Scorpio, my chart ruler. I have a Scorpio stellium, so my chart ruler is the slowest moving planet. So I am not inclined naturally to fast movement. What house is your Mars in? What sign is your Mars
I
in?
I do not understand any of that.
I don't know because you're the one who is all. Hey, Oma's online. Hey, Mrs. Smelani
Hello,
Satabluba
wow.
now. So when my sister ran, like Wushi voice, Yagasiswami Emshaden Gaputwami last year. I had to read my sister's speech. So Silamane Mhlano, she is the person whom I'm saying, her father is this one of the siblings that my father lost. And so she says, Ubaba omncane ozala ongubabakhe egazini died 1 year almost to the day after I was born. He was car bombed. Um, she is a child of struggle. Hi, because just the whole day today. Anyway, she's our sister, and I love her very much. And today is just too much emotions.
Shame, honey.
Guys, if you follow me on Honey Tell a Story on Twitter, I say this all the time. I will cry. I will. I will. There was a time, God, I was screaming blue murder the tears. And I was screaming like you could hear me outside the yard screaming in back in October, right? Like
When?
3 days before the Witbank wedding, that Wednesday. And I was
Yeah.
screaming. Remember, Dikowa,
Yeah.
Dikowa, Dingakowi, you Kanyisa Daisy, Dingakowi, meza. And my mother was so worried. And she comes to my sister. She's like, uyakhala, kwenzakalani, khuluma naye, duduza. And my sister was just like, ungahani lo, uzawukhala. If there's one thing she will do, your girl's gonna cry. So anyway, so I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I'm angry. I cry when I'm frustrated. When Honey is feeling emotion, Honey cries. This is who Honey is because Honey is in a conversation with her big sister today. Unomabutho, that is who was in your year reading. The person who was in yesterday's reading is somebody else, and you are not privy to their name. But suffice to say, ngitwase, gatatu, ngikhuphule, and amadlozi in total. So, including me, we are 10 in this body. Unomabutho is the legion within me. She is a warrior. She is the daughter of my father's great grandfather times 7. And she was a warrior who fought alongside men, the daughter of a great healer. And the reason why we have such a strong connection to Sri Lanka is because one of the gifts the country of Sri Lanka gave to the king whom he served was Skukone. They gave him a wife from Sri Lanka, and she would be gifted by Skukone to our predecessor, who said, "My house is full. You have plenty," because he was a prince, but still a prince who was a healer in service to the king. Is Temple of 13 wives. Number 7 within that, or thereabouts, was this woman from Sri Lanka. How do I know this? Because my daddy told me. And how do I know that? Because we are, it's our responsibility to keep the history because of that royal lineage, hence the name Makhosi. And we are healers to the king, but royalty in our own right. We are a principality in the kingdom of Haskokone. So that is speaking to all of the people who are in this room, Makhosi Thokozeni, because family is in the house today, and I'm so happy when I'm with my family. But guys, my sister's narrative style is very different to mine. The thing that slows me down even more before I take action is that my Mars is in Libra, which means that I do not take action until I have calculated every feasible probability. So I was actually on the phone with Daisy, Mrs. Smelani, in our comment section today. And I was explaining to her the work that goes into a live reading. For whatever reason, during the call that we had, I was explaining that. Yo! So first I map out the astrology of the day mathematically. Then I draw a chart of the day, or of the month, or of the year, or of the period, and from the day that I'm in. And then on top of that chart, the next step that I now bring in is I pray. I use the Bible because my family's system of faith, aside from interacting no namadlozi, is through umdali, but now through the modality of Christianity. And that is the way that I was raised. So then and even though I wasn't Christian for a long time, and me and God, we beefed, this is where we are now, because this is how the work works. And this is how everybody in this house wants it to go. And I have to give voice to all of them, right? So somebody likes the Bible. So I open the Bible. Well, it's not somebody, there's 3 people who like the Bible. So I open the Bible for them, and I give them each an opportunity to speak. They speak in, they each walk with a different ancestor, and each different ancestors, they are ancestors who look to izinto zomhlaba collectively. Masikhuluma ngobunyanga, reading the stars above us to look at how our position in the intergalactic system is affected in the intergalactic community, not just Earth, right? Collective astrology is what African astrology is. It's not about my personal birth chart. I'm not thinking about Honey's situation. I'm thinking about the future of humanity. That's why when I read, I talk about the themes of the moods and all of those things and how you might feel them, especially for abantu abakulela ubunyanga babo and have yet to fully get the gist of what the hell this is, because it also, this is year 10 for me, guys. This is year 10 for me, and the learning never stops. You know that last year was my learning era, right? Okay, so then I have to map the astrology. When I've mapped the astrology, the way that it works, right, is that it is a circle. And Yona, it doesn't go by month in. It goes by moon to moon to moon. But then I can use the pattern of a clock, right? 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then by there determine where 1 and 7 will be, etc., etc. And then now I use the hours of the day and so on as the times of the month, as the months of the year, or the, like when, let's say I'm doing like the year reading, ganjalo. And then now I'm reading this with the understanding of each month. But then I have to lean into another modality because we were eventually conquered by the Scottish through the help of our maternal side. That's what. And that brings in these Gaelic ancestors who my father explained to me why I ended up going to Ireland after my grandmother passed. And I use Gaelic cards to then read each month per theme. So then that's all my information collated. And then I sit down and using all of this information collated and written in accordance to specificities of time and place, which we are bound to on planet Earth collectively. I listen in edlozini ke manje. Sengiyaphahla ke manje. Sengivulela lonke ithongo lingitshele. I might record a voice note. I do like everything. I dictate on my notes app. I write by freehand, and I record voice notes. And historically, depending on what's going on and what crisis is on hand and whatever, I will then send all those things over to Umakos Kanyesa, who will then edit them into one cohesive long thing. But while she's doing that, I'm doing that. And I am rewriting, listening, and tuning in to the narrative. When I get my copy, I am ready to go live. But as you know, I freestyle, and then that is the product that you get. I'm not sitting here doing nothing. It takes a lot. So what I'm doing when I am drafting while Umakos Kanyesa is editing is I am also Googling these same transits in history. When Pluto was here in this degree, what was happening? When Saturn was here in this degree, when Pluto aspected Saturn in this way, what year was it? What was happening in history? I need to understand what potentials so that I can also make sense of what amadlozi are telling me, because there's a lot of different the reasons why, right? We go through these things. Astrology tells you the lay of the land that you find yourself in. Sorry, I had to just try and give my phone some juice because I've just come off load shedding, and I forgot to put this guy in. So it's just, kuningi bengikwenza. It's not load shedding kuphela, besijuluka namhlanje. So astrology, ubunyanga, gives us the lay of the land, right? All of the contributing factors, you understand? And these contributing factors, they are that horse that you saw You know, this is happening, this is happening. That is why mawubona inyanga ivukwe lidlozi lihlehlisa, it is a complete body experience. Amakhosi alawula imithetho yomhlaba.
Okay,
By
honey, can I interrupt you? There are some
yeah,
people that I know here actually have joined in from abroad.
yes,
And
they have
I'm
no
just going to
context.
ask you to, yeah, you're going to have to explain, as you explain some things,
You know,
please explain them. As you explain them in Zulu, explain them in English again. So just repeat in English as
what I
well.
can say to them is that we are so grateful. And I'm grateful for the international community, especially here at Sangoma Society. I know that you guys get confused why our prices are in dollars when we had to automate things and get online, and there were just too many clients coming in the front door and too much going on, and we couldn't process payment manually. We were told that we had to have upfront payment to make things smooth, so that we're not like delaying the start times of things because people haven't sent proofs of payment, etc., etc. When we asked the South African payment portals available to open an account for Sangoma Society, we were told that they don't service the nature of business that we serve. Of course, now other healers have those things, but we started that, unfortunately, several years before others did. So the privilege that they enjoy now, we didn't have, and that's why we actually are registered. Not even we are now only after the legal process of last year registered in South Africa. That's why the legal things you saw playing out during the solstice last year were playing out because we didn't have enough legal protections in South Africa, because South Africa was not recognizing what we do as a legally viable business to provide service to. So we have had to use international payment portals, international business like registrations and things, in order to be able to work in the way that we do. And but now things have changed, and we're regrouping and coming back to base. And I will actually come back full circle to explain why I'm going through these meanders uh, within the next 13 minutes, so that we can get into the next part of our conversation. But I say all that to say this: I am very grateful to our international community. I know that we have a strong support base in the United States of America, in the UK, in Ireland, in the UAE. I know that expats across Asia and the Middle East are incredible supporters to us, have been amazing travel partners for us to meet on our travels when we're out there, have been incredible supports during times of crisis for our family. It was our shared clients who banded together when our brother was in, hospital with COVID and needing somebody to say, even though he's in King's Hospital, the very hospital that serves the king, he was not getting the advocacy. He did not feel heard, and worse, he did not feel heard in a moment when he couldn't even speak. And our clients banded together. Um, a client of mine who I believe she found me through you. Um, Connected with a client of my sister's, and they both work in medicine, but they weren't in Dubai. They were in the UAE, but these people went above and beyond. They got permits, they coordinated, they got themselves into King's Hospital and got the doctors to listen to what my brother was saying. And what my brother was saying is that it's so right here, and I need somebody to pay attention to exactly this part because it's painful. And what they found, that right there was a blood clot about to enter his heart. And it couldn't have happened in sooner time. Guys, I am doing this series because I believe in the power of community. These stories that we are narrating is just giving you everything of understanding that we couldn't be who we are without community. But today, where we sit at this moment in time, we are working towards a new moon in Leo. It says main character energy. The main character, babe, on this planet at this moment in time is South Africa in terms of activism. What I need is for my countrymen to understand that they can be a voice for anything that they want to be, and to share how we've done it and why we're even doing things like this, where we get the balls to think that we can even run a campaign during a blockade, yada, 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 and just understand and take these things and understand that, we heal as we grow. And right now we need to start where we're from. So I'm going to be doing all of this in the way that it can, as quickly as possible, because another reality is that how much data can people afford? We don't want these things to be too long. We want them to be able to engage and join. And our other sister, Onika, she is up and down on this continent and internationally fighting for the right to internet on this country. And if you can understand, Shlatani, Onika Makwakwa, if you can understand that this is not a thing that we just took, guys. Nogutela Dube is like our ancestor. I mean, my goodness. I haven't even watched the movie yet because I was butthurt. Because I'm just like, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot. I'll give the backstory on Honey Tell a Story, but like it's got everything to do with the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. When you're playing small, when you're shutting yourself down, and when all these things. But I was explaining all this astrology stuff to say that birth order and astrology coincide, right? So a firstborn is born in the signs that they are born into, so that they can, like, their karmic contract for this incarnation manifest at their time and place of birth. The soul has a right to choose when they're coming. That's why you hear babies, mothers saying he decided he was coming right then and there, right? So when you say that, when we say karma, we say the things that are in your birth chart tell you the intention that you as an individual came here for. So I was born not to act with haste. I was born to, like, need 7 different, books. I've got a journal for everything, guys. This
She does.
journal, okay? I've got a journal, I've got a prosperity journal, I've got a new moon journal, I've got a full moon journal, and then I've got my emotional journal, right? When I am tracking what is happening, when I have got so many metrics, when I say to you, "Uyathakathwa," when I say to you, calm down, angeke. When this girl shows up in the foyer of a hotel in Ratnapura at 4 a.m., she is bringing a warning unbeknownst to herself. You saw how she shows up, right? It just happens. And she's so forceful. And I like to be a lot more, like, calm. And that's the thing. That's the girl that my family and friends encounter when I'm giving them warning. And it can feel overbearing. It can feel like you're Kanyisa and Vangile were online since 4 p.m. trying to get everything needed to be on live here, with Kanyisa standing in for me from 5 p.m. until I could join, because I knew that I don't know when my network will come back. Why they couldn't come online is because when this time last year, at the end of January, and we had Pluto moving into Aquarius for the first time, going to happen in February, right? Pluto moving into Aquarius happened late February 2022. Around this time, before Valentine's Day, end of January, I said they need to have my logins. We were doing our year planning, and I gave them my logins. I said, Angaz, but you guys need to have my logins. And it's just like, now there's like 6, 7 platforms that I run, and they have to have all these logins. And it's like, people are busy. And I'm just like, ngizitshele mina ukuthi ngithe you have my logins, I move. Only to find that life happens. Iyahapena, and those logins are no longer, were not transferred to new devices, yada yada. Life goes on, and life happened in between. Today, when I finally got network only at the doorstep in Mamam, like we were all standing there. It's the only sliver of network that we could get a patch through these calls at 4 p.m., like 4 to 4:05. That was like the window. I presumed people have all my logins and they'll start at 5 p.m. Little did I know that two-factor authentication is kicking them out because they've got new devices, and I'm not right there to, do the two-factor authentication. And it's like, yo, guys. And I say all that to say this. I promised you that I was going to wrap it up in 13 minutes, right? When I warn you and I say, this shit is coming, I will tell you whatever. You will hate me. I've got a roster of clients who fucking hate my fucking guts, but they keep coming back. Do you know why? Because you hate me like it's personal. It's not personal, it's your destiny. I'm saying, here's all the information I'm reading. If X does not change, this is the path. We need to change X so that the contributing factors to our outcome calculation change. And what people can experience that as is uzjela, thinking you're better, whatever. It's going to happen to me. When the revolution comes, beloveds, the people in my life who are close to me know, if we go to civil war, you will not find me. You will not find me. Nizongfuna anyeke nize ningithole. Anyeke. Nizongfuna anyeke nize ningithole. Ngoba mina ngasho ukuthi sukumani manje, if you want to avoid that fate. Become engaged, active part of your community. If you want to avoid that fate, I'm not going to be living a fate I can foretell. You think it's happening in Zimbabwe because it can't happen to you. You think it's happening in Sudan because it can't happen to you. What's happening in Sudan is why you won't find me. I won't be raped in front of nobody for nothing. Not again, not in this fucking lifetime. I'm telling you, take action now, because this can be mitigated. And how we mitigate it is by acting like we are who the fuck we are. We are the Republic of Southern Africa in our 30th year, entering our second return. We know why we are. And we are because of Madiba magic, of compromises, of acting in the interests of everybody, even at the expense of ourselves, of giving hope where nobody thought it was possible. When that genocide happened in Rwanda, they were expecting the world was on us, expecting us to be slaughtering each other in the streets. Look at what we did when we acted like who we are. And as we enter our Saturn return, and Saturn goes back to where it was, our genesis, on the 27th of April, 1994. And as it moves through to the date of inauguration, throughout Madiba's presidency and our best years, 1995 Rugby World Cup, hello, look at the astrology, right? that we experience during our Saturn return and look at the correlating factors and look at where we stand in today's conversation and who brought Israel to justice, to face accountability. And then ask yourself, uzalwa ngobani? Uzalwa ngobani? Laba abakuzalayo bangathini ngawe ngale senzo osenzayo namhlanje? Le gazi eliqede lelizwe laligeza salinyathela singakalihlambululi ulihlambulula njani? Ngoba manje sekuyisikhathi senhlambuluko. Sukumani sizihlambulule sibe ngabantu ebantwini. Can we stop being the butt of the joke? Can we stop being subject to Western hegemony, where a Sangoma gets their identity hijacked by people who don't even believe in what we do? There's no legal protection beyond what is available in private practice in a time when the reason I do so much work behind the scenes now is because I do a lot of policy work, and I'm working in that space because between Isangoma and doctors there is the fight, and it is the fight of dosing. And people just use far too much medicine in the doses that they send people home with, and these people present with kidney failure, and it explains why I needed to be home, why I needed to be here, because when you're here and you're digging your own medicine and you appreciate it, you understand that a quarter of a teaspoon is 2 years of growth for a plant that will only bloom once, and you benefit from that flower, and you put it in this medicine and you send it on a mission, and you know that that one flower petal is enough and you honor it as such. But when a person doesn't know ukuthi lento abayiphethe iphumaphi, ifike ngobunzima obungakanani, then they might take it too lightly. So we say all that to say this, Baguti, on the international sphere, I'm sorry. I need my people to understand me right now. We will try to edit these back and put our subtitles in. And when you revisit, probably in the second quarter after the equinox, or at least after the solstice, you will get this series with subtitles. But for now, our calendar for the year is already laid out. We really need to get on our bike, because if you've been watching Sangoma Society's content since last October, we have been saying that when we get to this point, we need to be on our bike and riding, because Pluto in Aquarius needs us to act like we know, because we do. And especially Pluto in Aquarius 2024, because it used 2023's second half to give us perspective on a lot of things. So that is the template of understanding that gives you the certainty to bolt forward. I think in all that I've said, you kind of understand how these things all correlate. And basically, what I'm saying is that it's difficult sometimes ukumzwisisa umuntu, because to understand a person, because they don't speak the way that we speak, and you sometimes need to have patience to give yourself the opportunity to understand a person and consider things that they are saying. Kuthiwa singamahlanya. Ngoba sahlanya, I did lose my mind. My ancestors brought sanity back to me. There is no relationship in my life that has not been sacrificed because I chose my ancestors first before it, and no relationship in my life that has not been returned to me because I chose my ancestors first before it. because the agreements I made with my ancestors are what bought my passage into this life. And they gave it to me exactly as my highest soul requested, for the lessons that my life is asking my soul to learn by this incarnation. Just as much as we see Magaziwe today, and with the wounds that she carries, wanting to auction her father's personal artifacts, and every person in South Africa saying, somebody stop this, we can't have this. And the state has been trying to stop this. It's years of the state trying to stop this. But she is fueled by the anger of what it is to lose a parent to the struggle. She is fueled by the anger of what it is to not have izimfanelo zakho done because your father served the nation before he served his family. Because the people whose lives, families, and blood allowed us the privilege of sitting here talking in these languages, connecting with people around the world, and being well traveled, having access to internet, all of these things are privileges. They have been hard won privileges. They have been won by blood. We enjoy this privilege. And one of the reasons we enjoy this privilege is because in the setting of community, which is what Pluto in Aquarius is asking of us. Guys, I'm just trying to balance this phone. In the setting of community, before there was a term called apartheid, Palestine recognized South Africa's struggle and wanting to be emancipated from who the British had left in charge of us. Envoys were being sent to the Queen in England. We were still a Commonwealth, yada, yada, yada. Somewhere, somehow, National Party came in, blada, blada, boom, boom. And apartheid and the Nakba kind of almost coincide. They're definitely in the same, hold the same house in Pluto. Same sign in Pluto because they're within a 2-year difference, 2 to 5 year difference. And Pluto takes 20 years to traverse through a sign. So I could say that their Pluto is in the same sign. So their purpose, like collective everything of Palestinian struggle and apartheid South Africa always was together. And then something else happened, you know. Hello, Nero. Lovely to meet you from London. So I say all that to say this, that if you understand that your highest soul said to your ancestors, listen, I need a body in the third dimension. Hook a sister up. And they said, okay, cool. This house that you're knocking on is this. These are the things that we need to sort out. And then you said, okay, what's the correlation? You're going to slow me down. Thanks, though. Next house, yo, I need a body in the third dimension. Okay, these are the problems our house faces. Correlation much, okay, but I'd need some support in order to be able to sort that out with the problems that I have got to sort out on my side. Okay, cool, look, it's going to be a wait. You're going to need to wait until this person comes of age. They might be located in X, Y, or Z place, and we're going to need to come into a agreement with XYZ house for you to come through. Those agreements are all made. You agree, you sign. Then, because they are waiting on what's happening here on Earth, the place that is subject to space and time takes place. Your mother, your father, they find themselves, or the scientist, the egg, the technology, the things, it happens. You're conceived. And then You want your birth to coincide with what determines your destiny, your natal birth chart. So you go and you say, I'm like, everybody conspires to make it so that this person's at the time and place. And then you're born in a supermarket, in an airport, in some place they were transiting through, only because your place of birth allows you to be born with all the supporting collective forces, heaven, earth, below, internally, to show up. And also the birth order to influence the nurturing that will influence how you show up amongst others. And birth order becomes important in the context of community because it helps you to understand why your personality is the way that it is. Firstborns are most likely to be the people with the most initiative, with the most or if there's a really wide age gap and you know things like that, and you kind of come like a firstborn because now you're an only child to an empty nest or whatever. If you're like that, you don't have immediate siblings who are there to teach you how to walk because they just learned how to walk, do you know? Then you're going to have placements in your chart that allow you to have more initiative. Why do you have more initiative in your chart? So that you can act, right? Because you need it for your karmic load. And then you're going to have maybe a last born who's born to a house of 27 babies and they're like everybody's baby and they don't even learn how to walk until they're 6 years old because they're always on somebody's back. They are here to learn things about trusting, about letting themselves be held, whatever, whatever, whatever. And they benefits and or characteristic in terms of learning style and initiative is by taking in information first, because I found everybody in this house. And this house was standing, and I like this house. So I listened to everybody else before I listened to myself, right? Because they were here and they were here into the thing that I want to be a part of, right? And whereas when you're a firstborn, you're going to have like a lot more that. And these are the things. So say all that to say that this is what brings us to where we are in South Africa today. And I think it's not a coincidence that we shared the experience we shared in Sri Lanka. Um, and for me, it was when NATO forces were trying to manipulate themselves into the country, the people just said, no, we've got this. Nothing's going to go out of control. By 3 p.m., people were asking, is there going to be a boycott? You know, um, Lavi, did you call me at 4 a.m. to wake me up or not?
No, I didn't call anyone. I was beautifully clueless, guys. I was
I
at
was
the ocean. I
woken
was having
by,
a beautiful day, to be honest, until Mangala came. And because we were so far from everyone,
okay,
we
so
were
Lavina,
literally in a
here's my story, right?
isolated place.
Here's my
Mm,
story, and there's facts because I've always referred to it this way. And I mean, I was with other people. At 4 a.m., I remember my sister giving me a call, but the news
mm,
didn't yet have any signs of the bombs. The first news of the bombs only came at 7 a.m. because it was actually the church service. Between 7 and 9, no, it wasn't. The first one was at the hotel that my brother had said, it's either this one or this one. Which one do you guys want? And we said this one because it looks more youthful and fun, right? This one
yeah.
was the more like
Cinema.
it
I
was
think it was the, I don't know
King's
what it was, but
King's
like,
King's
yeah.
something. King
Oh,
something in
cinnamon.
Colombo.
I don't, I could be wrong, but yeah.
No, Cinnamon wasn't where it's the Cinnamon was bombed, and there was the other one that was
Yeah,
also bombed.
Liago stayed at the one that wasn't bombed,
No,
I
no, no.
think.
There were two hotels bombed. It's not the Cinnamon, the other one, Etty King's something. If you look at it, it looks like Mount Grace Hotel. And it's just like, if you know the Mount Grace Hotel, God, is it still called Mount Grace? Okay, wrong city. Oh, yes. Anyway, look at the Legacy group of hotels or whatever. It's where your parents go to stay. You know, it's very stiff upper lip, and we wanted to be somewhere relaxed. So our brother had just left as well when this was happening. So it was just
Mm,
like, yeah, you know, a lot of things were happening emotionally. Um, but what I understood on Sunday morning was that my sister had called me at 4 a.m. and told me that she had just left some city. She was in the car with Mangala right now because they had just bombed. Shuthi bengiphupha kushuthi whatever, but if it was langenza lento ehloze
we
ngilenza
didn't
lona.
call.
And well, we didn't speak until much later. I did get sick
Yeah.
at the hotel that day because my womb, it was just too much. I was channeling a lot and I wasn't aware that I was channeling because of the nature of things. So I wasn't able to hold space for honey to like be able to physically carry what she was actually doing because I was so unconscious of it. And as a result, I had an experience with my womb that I had never had before or since. And
Yeah, I
um,
remember you saying that that day, you calling and saying that you were in so much pain in your womb.
yeah, and they wanted to take me to the hospital, and I said, "Don't take me to the hospital. Just get me pain medication. Get me like the strongest ibuprofen you can. Ibuprofen numbs my body, so can you get me ibuprofen specifically?" And they went and they got the first one, and I think I was able to fall asleep. And the next morning, when I woke up and I was able to walk, they said I had called it. My wife was ready. She was coming on standby. That before um, lockdown at 6 p.m., at 5 p.m., she was going to be here to help me carry you to the hospital because I thought maybe you didn't want me because I'm a man. And I said, no, it's like, honestly, of course, I have a lot of things about men, blah, 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 but Sri Lankan men are not ordinary men. Like, it's a sense of safety that you could never describe. Um, Suffice to say, I was incredibly looked after that Sunday night. And Monday morning, um, was now 24 hours of watching Sri Lanka's government in action. They shut down communication. They said blackouts, block by block by block. So if you were blacked out in the block that you were in and you couldn't see TV, you didn't have network, you didn't have electricity, you had nothing, and it's a curfew, right? Restricted movement curfew.
No, I mean, electricity and water stayed on. It's just that
Lavi,
people
Lavi,
started
in
to
the
get
first
very
20, Lavi,
paranoid.
Lavi, Lavi, in the first 24 hours, I'm the detail orientated one. I know this because I write down all the details so I can revisit them because I like to tell stories with context. Here's why. Me,
I
why
do
I love.
not remember
You
that.
don't remember a lot of things, babe, and I always have the background because our narrative story styles are too different, right? I'm a detail and context person. You're a sweep through and get where we're going person. I'm a context person. So what they did, what I watched was they. I don't think they published showed that on CNN. Angazi niyibona into enjalo. How they did it was like they black out this area. It is restricted movement. You weren't allowed outside during that first 24 hours, right?
That is
And
true.
they
That I
took
remember.
out why they did that, Lovey, was because they were doing blackouts. So when they do a blackout of the area, that area is where the military is. The SWAT team is being followed by the cameraman. And we follow the SWAT team in there. We watch them take these guys one by one by one by one.
We
They
did
shut
see that on
down
TV,
it. They
yes.
shut down that thing within 48 hours. NATO was France. He need to send in reinforcements. Hini, because they know what they are looking for in Sri Lanka. They know the treasure that that country has. And that country says, yeah, they're our treasures, and we've had them for the time that we've had them, because by the virtue of our faith, those treasures sit within treasures that are more valuable to us than the money that those treasures can give. We're not going to rip our mountains apart or our shorelines apart for profit. We want fresh water for the generations that are yet to come. We want our generations to know what plenty is. In Sri Lanka, you can't walk into somebody's house and just think that you can refuse food. I mean, it's going to be a spread because they plant collective gardens. You can't say that you're hungry when jackfruit trees are everywhere and you can make everything with jackfruit: milk, porridge, meat substitutes, you name it, you can do with this thing that grows free range. Banana, plantain, coffee. They plant this, they take their ground, their soil, their water, everything as the sacred divine that it is, that carries the privilege of our presence on this earth, you know. And they said our people could not be behind this, and we know that we don't fear um our, like, the ethos of Ubuntu and the ethos of Buddhism as it is practiced in Sri Lanka is very similar. There's a lot of parallels, but they're not giving it lip service. They like mean it. So when I said on Monday, so it's 24 hours, and after 24 hours, so around midday on Monday, you were able to move around. So I took a tuk-tuk to a Pizza Hut in town in Ratnapura. That's the only thing I found operational. Not a lot of shops were open. I could see that I'm not going to get what I want. And I was like, okay, cool. As soon as travel is open, I will leave because there's nothing happening here. Yo! The country is consumed with the business of preserving its sovereignty. When I left on Tuesday morning, I was leaving knowing that the care that I got in the 48 hours that I was on my own during this crisis, and obviously you can see the fear that I only tapped into today, the realities of that moment, because I've never really taken it as a trauma I experienced at all, because there's nothing that would inform it as trauma apart from the fact that countless lives were lost. But in terms of my personal experience, I was like treated like an egg, you know? So my hotelier called a tuk-tuk for me. The tuk-tuk, it was a handover system. Do you understand? He tells my tuk-tuk driver where I'm going to a bus stop. When I get to the bus stop, my tuk-tuk driver tells a policeman stationed at the bus stop where I'm going. The policeman makes sure that I'm able to get my bus, my ticket bus, I'm seated on the bus. He tells the driver on the bus that I'm going to Jaela. I'm on a bus to Colombo, I'm going to Jaela. So when we get inside Colombo, he needs the driver to drop me at the place where I will connect to Jaela. When I get dropped off in Jaela, I am escorted by the policeman. Okay, he carries my bags off the bus. Okay, walks me to the tuk-tuk, tells the tuk-tuk driver where I am going, asks the tuk-tuk driver how much it is. Tuk-tuk driver tells him, and that's the price. When I get to Jaela, the tuk-tuk driver waits for Mangala to open the gate, okay? Sees me being welcomed and embraced by my sister and Mangala. And we lock the gate before we hear the sound of him driving off. That's the community that we found in that place. That's how I believe we should act and show up in places. And those are the experiences that I had. And it was incredible. It was really, really incredible. I did document a lot of it, but during the time when I was really, really afraid to use my voice in the last couple of years, I struggled. And I think as I'm recommitting to using my voice and showing up and
and
reconciling with the events that
events
happened,
that
right?
happened, right?
Uh, like getting divorced, identity hijacked, all of that stuff. It's happening now when it's full moon in Leo, and even the technical difficulties that we're facing, they're divine because they're saying, you say you want this. Ooh, not your background. Color match much. She said, let's get on to talking about this book though. And the everything is divine. And it is divine for our highest good. I've got a lot of sweat feedback. Are your headphones now not
Yeah, my
working nicely?
headphones are not battery. Can people hear me?
Oh, we can't hear you now.
Oh, can you hear me now?
You're faint.
Okay, I don't know what to do because like
Do
my
you have headphones that connect by a jack?
no,
Why doesn't your phone's on phone speaker work better?
I'm trying.
Turn off your
It's
Bluetooth.
I tapped my Bluetooth, I disconnected it. It's off, but this is not working.
Hmm. That's so
Okay.
strange.
And you guys can't hear me, right? Maybe
We
today
can
is
hear
not
you.
the day for the interview.
It's
But
like
we
it's
have
faint.
okay. You know what I can do? I can log out and try to come back in.
Do that. Do that. And I'll just tell them about the book and everything in the meantime, about the new book. Okay. So we've gone through all these experiences with my sister and we've collaborated in a lot of different ways and worked on retreats and things. But my sister started teaching money work um, back in 2012, as I told you. And in yesterday's live, you would have heard all the context for how it came to be. Guys, like it's still around my waist. But whoa, I'm hot. It's hot in the city, hot in this village. But you know,
Guys, hear
she's
me.
done. We're gonna work with what we've got. We're gonna work with
Okay.
what we've got. Yeah, we're gonna have to work with what we've got. I don't know because it's faint, but I think we just have to listen in a little closer. Have you put your Bluetooth, your things on charger?
No, actually, let me just do
Put them on
exactly that.
charger, cause girl, you know I can talk. Um,
I've got to go in a few minutes, actually.
hey,
So,
we can hear you nicely now.
is it?
Yeah. Can I have a
Okay.
like if you can
I'm
hear?
back in the room. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure what just happened. I didn't do anything different. It's just weird.
Subject to time and space.
Yeah.
You had
Okay.
to be on this blue background. So suffice to say, my sister started doing online work and coaching work long before I did. Mina ngatshelwa ngudadewethu ukuthi kumele ngithwase. It was the 21st of March 2021. 2021. On the 21st of March, I believe it was Sunday, the 21st of March, 2014. And ngangena ephehlweni on the 1st of Angaya, and then ngangena on the 9th of August. Kodwa I became uNomabutho on the 10th of September. Izinto zami noma zingihambele ngokushesha ukuthi zenzakale zive and all of those things. Ukukhula kwami has not been something that I have taken as though because ngithwasile sengimdala. I've never been that person. This is my 10th year of practice in this way that I work. This is my sister's. Ooh, how many of you
Off.
practicing as a wealth coach, doing what you do, unpacking ancestral money trauma?
Well, as a money Coach, I think I started really doing this work, ancestral money trauma work, in probably in 2016. But I think before 2015, I was traveling and gathering the emotions. So I said, yeah, that launched in 2013, but I was still looking at emotional intelligence with money. And then, yeah,
But
2013.
self-awareness, this is the thing. Self-awareness is where you begin your relationship with your ancestors. If you don't know yourself, you don't know your ancestors. Do you know? Because you'll never differentiate in building the relationship. You'll never know your community. You'll never feel the love or the hatred or the understanding of what it is that your community is giving you. So even though Magaziwe has been given everything that she's been given by South Africa and the opportunities that are available to her, nothing is enough to heal her inner child wound as a girl who was abandoned by her father. She has to have her vengeance on South Africa, because South Africa took her father from her, and robbed her. And if you were speaking to her right now, say she watched this, like, what would you say? Like, or how do you analyze the situation? Because that's how I analyze it.
Thought about it deeply, to be honest.
Lavi. Hi.
Yes.
Bambi phone la.
Oh, okay. So you
That's
guys
why we can't hear you.
from me.
Siguzwa
Okay.
mawi bambile.
Oh, okay, because it's far. The speaker is far. Okay, I get it. So for me, I will say I haven't thought about it that deeply, but one of the things that I do know for a fact is that we need to heal ourselves, right? That she needs to heal her inner child wounds, and she needs to heal her father wound probably, and her mother wound. The truth is that you can't, we often talk about healing the mother wound or healing the father wound, but they actually, you have to heal both of them, right? What most people don't understand is that sometimes we can have a father wound because our fathers didn't protect us from our mothers, or we can have a mother wound because of the same reasons. And the fact that, like, our parents have chosen each other, so we need to forgive them for that. But also, just like the inner child wound. The truth is, unfortunately, the external situations that we are born into tend to affect us on a very individual level. So, the external situation of South Africa, it was never our job to heal from that. But now we find ourselves here, right? Apartheid influenced our families in very specific ways. It influenced the way that we see ourselves. So we need to be healing from that. And it has impacted our families, no matter how it is over, it is, right? How we feel about that. We are still reaping the repercussions of that, or living with the repercussions of that. So for me, I'll just say she needs to heal her inner child, heal her inner teen, heal
And
whatever
in
wounds
in
come
terms of the archetypes,
from the
can I
issue.
bring it to this? So I don't think that you are aware of who Magaziwe is, because I know that you're not a person who lives on the internet like I do, and you're not a scandal chaser, you're not a gossip queen. So let me tell you who she is. She is Winnie. She is not Winnie. She is Nelson Mandela's firstborn daughter. She is the firstborn eldest Mandela
Yeah.
child. She is from the first marriage where he was an abusive guy. He was the complete shadow, right? Of the absolute shadow of the higher self that we saw as Utata, right? And who passed, right? The person who did what he did for us. His 27 years probably helped him work through his shadow work. because her Mandela and our Mandela shadow highest self, right? But deep, dark, unfucking necessary Makwakwa level shadow. Okay? Grant, you got it. And then basically he becomes who he becomes. You know that he always had room for vengeance in his spirit, because of how he treated Mandela, Winnie Mandela, despite everything, not repaying his gratitude to her in kind, etc., etc. Bloody, bloody, blah. Okay, fine. He does look out for her in terms of in kind, monetarily, whatever. But I think when I look at it from the outside looking in, when he marries Grasa, he chooses to experience fatherhood, re-experience fatherhood through her children, you know. Basically, you know who, right? In our sibling lineage, right?
Yeah.
Exactly that, daddy and that, right? But imagine if daddy was doing that, but then, well, yeah, you know what, all of the stuff, but then he had never done the things he's done for you and whatever, whatever. And then he dies and he's got these artifacts, and she's just like, everybody got everything. I own these things and I'm going to sell them. Okay? And people are, and the government is like, you don't own these things. His ID book is, it's property of the South African government, is written on it, but somehow she just keeps winning round after round after round of this court case. And now she's got the website out there. She basically does everything you can imagine. That is, she just labels Mandela. People say no good things about her wine, but a bottle's 2,700 Rand. There's no brand story, there's no nothing. It's just like she just throws Mandela on, she takes this, she says Mandela, 20,000 everywhere. And she's deeply, deeply abusive to the children and grandchildren of Winnie Mandela. She destroyed the funeral proceedings of a very, very strong gender rights activist, who was one of Matikizela's grandchildren, granddaughters. She's done a lot of things, man, that are unnecessary. And it feels like she has got her, like, you know, hand in the back. So, which archetype does she match?
I think she matches the destroyer from the sounds of
Okay,
things.
the destroyer acts out the family trauma in living color. They tend to become the external embodiment of the family's trauma by mirroring the family's dirty laundry, responding to whatever is happening by going into fight mode. Okay, tell the destroyer how they turn a situation around when they become aware that they are in the middle of an ongoing trauma response and their actions are unwarranted and hurting more than they want, and the shame and all of that stuff. How, like, that realization? Talk her through it.
Firstly, the first thing that I want to say to people is when you're in the midst of a trauma, of a trauma response, you're so deeply triggered. It's sometimes so hard to bring yourself down, right? So you can only, I think, it takes lots of work beforehand. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation. So if you've ever found yourself in the middle of a crying, fighting fit, screaming, if you're a destroyer, you're shouting at everyone, you're screaming, or you are isolating everybody, because that's what also destroyers do. The other thing I talk about in the book is that the destroyer archetype is very prone to depression because when they do not let out the anger, they turn it on themselves. The
Mm.
destroyer archetype is literally born into a family to highlight the trauma and the effects of trauma. So if what you're saying about her, all those things are true, then she is just highlighting all of the things that have happened. She's highlighting everything so that we can have these conversations, right?
Whoa!
if there is no destroyer archetype in a family, and I've seen
Yeesh.
families without destroyer archetypes, I've got clients like that. Nobody talks about the trauma. There's none of this. It doesn't make headline news. People just continue living their lives, you know.
And they
But
suppress it.
pardon?
And they suppress it.
And they
They like
suppress.
suppress it.
So the family continues to move on. Destroyers are extremely uncomfortable archetypes, right? Because they highlight the things that we would rather not talk about. Like, we would all like to be like, but what is wrong with that girl? Can't she keep it in? She can smile, she can make it better. So, and interestingly enough, destroyers are the perfect activists because we're talking about activism, right? Although we've kind of veered a little from that. But destroyers are here to highlight what is wrong. So, what I would say is, after all this, she's going to need to figure out a way to calm down. But the first thing is that you cannot exhibit that much anger and angst without feeling it in yourself. The thing with destroyers is you feel it so deeply, it has to be let out. And it's very, very powerful because we are here. Of all the archetypes, the destroyer has the second most amount of energy to change things. The first is the fixer. I'm not a fixer, I'm a destroyer, by the way, by nature as an archetype. So I understand this archetype very greatly. So the first thing is to sit with the anger and then to maybe not talk for a while, but to work on her wounding. And one of the key wounds of the destroyer, and I talk about this in the book, is the wound of not belonging. And literally, what you told me is already, if her dad left, right, and he chose someone else and then didn't do what he was meant to do by her, already that karmically she was, that is part of the wound that she would carry. But then her father's actions would have highlighted that wound even more. So a lot of it is feeling like you are alone, feeling completely misunderstood, being looked at like you're the crazy one, even though there are reasons for the actions that you're taking. Like, as I'm listening to this, I'm like, well, if the only thing her father left her is the Mandela name, then that's the thing that she gets to use, right? To make a living because that's what he left her. But
Ah, he
most,
did leave her. He did leave her because her and her siblings fought to get their inheritance while he was still alive. He
oh yeah,
did leave her. All of the kids got the exact same monetary amount, but there was a group that said, "Eh, to see funupila," and
yeah,
she was amongst that cohort, and she did get 300,000 USD well before 2013. So
wow, yeah. So, but my whole point is, at the end of the day, she still needs to do her inner work. And the work is the fear of rejection. Ironically, because destroyers fear rejection, they will always, it's almost like they caught it in a way. It's one of those things. The thing that you avoid is the thing that you tend to
what you
go up.
resist persists. Yeah.
What you just persist, right? And then the other thing, because most times they will reject the family first before they are rejected. So some of the things she's doing will guarantee that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the wound of not belonging. Really, really working with that wound around not belonging and feeling abandoned, right? So that's a huge thing. And in the book, I explain, you'll be able to see why part of her money drama is also playing out that way. In the book, I explain that destroyers have an interesting way of going through money. Hey, they can go through money really quickly. But unlike the sweet one or the other archetypes, they're not always using the money on family. In fact, destroyers and the eternal child are more likely to spend money on outsiders outside of the family. Whereas the sweet one, if they are going to go into debt and get rid of money, that archetype is going to be doing it because of family members. They're going to be supporting family members a lot. We won't talk about the fixer. Fixer is less likely to get out of debt, to get in debt. Sorry?
Can I add something? Can I add something? Just context, right? So she's doing all this because she wants to build a memorial park in Kunu. She's selling his historical artifacts to build a structure in memoriam of him. Do you hear how the things are opposite? But I think as I was hearing you, right, this is what I was hearing, that because she's in her shadow, she's in her ego, and she is saying, I have the right to sell his things, to build something in his name that is attached to me because nothing else on earth is. Because when you go to the museum in Orlando, it's not about her. It's not about her branch of the family.
Belongs, right?
Yeah, we're not as a country. Yiti abarong. We are not seeing Uguti like we owe them a debt of gratitude. If we say we don't want, like Tina Masikole, do you understand? And let us hold space. I mean, I know that everybody's been talking about wounded inner child. Yes, it is the wounded inner child. It is definitely that. Um, what my first thing would be to say is when you come to the awareness that you're in a trauma response, like when it clocks and I don't know what it's like for other people. Like I say, I was raised Catholic. The first thing I ever feel is shame. So I always say, hold yourself in compassion. Be compassionate with yourself. Slow everything down and start with compassion. Because if you give yourself the compassion that you need, then you can move forward to accountability. And accountability is going to allow you to step into your truth. And when you step into your truth, your integrity, then you show up as who you truly are. And then you're now beginning to find the necessary resources that if your trauma, your ancestral trauma, your destiny trauma is showing up in the space specifically of your money, you get, your hands on this. And we've got so much history in terms of our activism. We worked together with the head of Iziko Museums, Gabi, at God, I can't even Gabi Ngobo. My goodness, I can't remember Gabi's name. Gabi Ngobo and her best friend, Zandi Zwane. Guess who's gonna be my guest tomorrow? Zandi. And she's coming to help me recount how the hell we got involved in Can't We All Get Along? Because it was you, Bruce J. Little, Bokani Dyer, you were the photographer and coordinator of poetry. I know that Bongani Nkuna performed at least one, the first iteration of the Bokani Dyer. I'm sure they're gonna win a Grammy because I nearly said Grammy, but like I think his dad has won a Grammy, so it's in the DNA. He better make space on his. He's an award-winning. He was in New York at the end of last week. Anyway, um, yeah, I know, right? Boki is a very serious guy. Langa Pante, sisi. And then there was Joan Le Kalamitwa, one of the reasons we have the Encounters Documentary Film Festival that we find behind here. She was the person who mothered us all together. And they just said all I remember is that they said if we open our gates, our back gates, we can have the events across 2 yards. And I was like, give me some models and I'll do you a fashion show. And then I did the poetry and the fashion show. You did the poetry, coordination, lineup, and photography. And they were running logistics. Gabi was Ganti. I didn't know Gabi was an artist then. Ganti, she's gonna put us. What is it? Go museums. Like, how did we end up in that? Because I don't have the timeline. All I know is that I was doing a party and it changed the course of my life. So we're sitting down with Zandi tomorrow and she's going to explain what that is like. I was just following fashion and fun. But they obviously, because they were graduates already, they had like much more context and understanding for what they were doing. And obviously it would precede my work at Coast to Coast, where you came to support us when we did the social cohesion Soweto Up and Rising at the Pelican, during the times when, in response to that social cohesion crisis, got 2012, right? And we were on the ground there together. I mean, you've been doing, you campaigned for Obama. Annika was on Obama's team. You were doing door to door. You were doing door to door, girl. That's campaigning. That's getting involved. We were on the phone together, and I was in Stratford, and you were in Washington at the inauguration. Annika was somewhere behind the scenes. You were down there, and I was on the phone in my bedroom in Stratford upon Avon, and we were all in tears. But I say all that to say that every single person can become active. They just have to do the part that works for them.
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed because I just realized like I've done so many different things. No, whenever I'm in a country, I just kind of get involved in whatever is there. That's all I do is I just go to events and people are always needing something. The truth is, right now, because I've been busy with other things in the business and stuff, I haven't been as involved with activism as I'd love to be. So I'm just using my social media, which a lot of people are saying is really, really important as well. So yeah, but back then, because I didn't have as much on my plate as I do now in terms of just work and getting things done. I had time.
Okay, but you've got a free .99 breathwork meditation that changed the course of Kanyisa's life.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about the free stuff. So I do this is also why I give away so much free content because we are talking about activism and money, right? I'm a big believer in getting paid for what you do. That is huge for me. And setting the right price for your work, right? But I also say to people because my clients pay what they pay to me, it allows me to have time to create the free content that I want to create to help others. So the way that I see myself doing work is I'm able to give away free breathwork
Hey!
meditation, to create free 7-day courses,
Yo!
to do podcasts. I'm able to hold space at certain of that for free on webinars and all that because I price correctly. And this is huge. This is why I'm so big on pricing because you can't give away things for free if you are not being compensated properly because then you won't be able to keep giving to your community because you're going to end up broke and the very community that you're trying to serve and help won't be able to benefit from you, right? So I do have a free breathwork meditation. I'll give Honey the link. You can just go to wealthy-money.com/breathwork. You sign up, you get a free breathwork meditation. I've also got a free 7-day tapping into ancestral money wisdom course, which is completely free. I used to have day 6 and day 7 be a sales type of sales days. But then I thought to myself, no, if I'm saying that the course is free for 7 days, I want people to go through 7 days of this course and get value for 7 days. So I added worksheets, I added even more things. Okay, I'm not sure. It says the host left. I don't know if you guys can hear me at all, but I'm assuming since the clock is still running, you guys can still hear me. Okay, honey, you're back. Yeah. So anyway, my whole thing. So with this free 7 days, you guys can go to it. It's wealthy-money.com/training. I guess it's my own form of activism to help people really start the work around ancestral money trauma. Like I
Kodwa,
said, and I've got 2 bonus lessons, I think, on top
wait
of
a
all
minute,
that.
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Not so quick now. what we've already been working on is all the volunteer sessions, the multiple sessions we did over the years, because we did work during lockdown that was uh, free, like tapping in for live stuff, all of those things, plus our free content and as many workbooks as we can. These are real courses. These are real life-changing event things. And we've compiled it all into a very meaty course, you know.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
only thing that is determining the order of things is uti when what was conceptualized. So this segment, when what became outside. So for instance, when we first did like what we did in Sri Lanka during the retreat in Sri Lanka, we did in the first 21 days of the lockdown, you know, live. And that's going to be the first lesson because it was the first thing that we collaborated on. And then I think breath work came after that while I was doing clearing into consciousness on Facebook. Then so breath work and clearing into consciousness go together. Then came uh pivoting into purpose on my side. That's not going to be included here. Then so after doing pivoting into purpose, we had the Durban attempted coup situation here in South Africa, and then we did special sessions around that were like genre changing, right? And those are going to be included. And then we did following that, 2021, 2022 came prospering, and answers from our ancestors is in that. What did you do in 2022? What year did our 7-day free course come?
I think in 2022, actually, I started with a 7-day tapping into ancestral money wisdom course during COVID. And I think so, but I think I may have launched it in 2021. And the reason why I launched that again is simply because I feel like, firstly, it's when you give away content for free, most people tend to think that when you do good, doing good and making money are not the same, like they are polar opposite. But actually, a lot of people will discover your work when you're giving it away for free. So, some of that work, and I believe in giving away value, truly life changing things. So, some people always will do my free work and never come back because they've gotten so much value from it and they break through. And that's great. Some people will do it, and because they get so much value, they will come back. But my whole thing was that because COVID was doing what it was doing, I wanted to give back in some ways. So that was the 7-day tapping into ancestral money wisdom training. And it really helped the business grow. So for
Yeah,
me, I think that when we are trying to help our community and we're doing something for our community, it's not also, I also don't believe in just offering something for free because it's free. So in my
it's
free
lift
course,
as you rise.
exactly. It's literally something that has worksheets, meditations. People have access to the online platform itself, the community. They can post on there, they
And
can
like,
comment,
so
they can respond.
for
So,
me, yeah,
yeah, so my
sorry.
whole thing is to say, really, when we're talking about activism and money, we're talking about many different things, right? We're talking about how you spend money and how you make money, right? And that it's possible to make money by giving value even to people who are not necessarily paying you. But for you to be able to do that, you have to be charging well. So the first activism is to yourself, if that makes sense.
Amen.
It's really to be fair to yourself and looking after yourself, and what you are giving to the community is that you also have to be paid back. So I didn't offer the free stuff until I was in a place where I could afford to do that,
It's like
right?
you
So
need to give
that's
yourself the capacity.
in COVID, right? I was already in a place where I could show up, where I could do 3-hour free sessions, right? And say to people, pay what you will. That wasn't the thing that would, whatever people paid was a bonus, but it wasn't the thing that would make me live, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The money
No,
alone.
because it was,
Yeah, because then if that's the case, then it's like if people don't pay whatever, if some people can only pay 10 rand and you said pay what you will, then you'll have resentment and you probably won't show up as fully for this thing, right?
yeah.
So that's one of the things. So that's one, and I think that as activists, I think this is a conversation around money that I've always been wanting to have, which is that as activists, some people are giving from a space where they themselves need to be financially replenished first, right? And then they are trying to give to the community, but they're giving literally the shirts off their back. And we praise people for that. But there's so much, it means that because we praise people for that, people keep doing it, and nobody will ever come to a person and say, but sis, look after yourself first. Keep that shirt because you're cold.
Can
And
I,
if
can I, can I, can I
oh,
hold that person? Oh, sorry. We can't hear you for a second as well. Something was breaking there. But also, I want to say something to what you're saying because I'm on the other side of that, right? Because I'm the queen of that shit. Captain Save a Ho. And here's what I will say to that is that you cannot outsource loving yourself to someone else. You cannot take the shirt off your back to cover someone else in the hope that that person will give you the gratitude that you don't know how to give to yourself. Do you know? And that is the driving force behind that bullshit behavior. And it is bullshit behavior. Do you know? You're rescuing people, you're out there interrupting the life of, like, if it's a person's karmic destiny to kill themselves, believe me, guys, life is eternal. The dead are alive. We are alive. We are merely in different dimensions. If they don't want to be in this third dimension, and you have said, I am here, but they don't reach out to you, it is because you are not presenting as the beacon of the thing that they can depend on. When you have to take the shirt off your back to help someone, it is because you haven't rescued yourself in the way that you need to be rescued in order, and not just the present self. It's not enough to have enough for today. You have to rescue your future self and then rescue the descendants of your future self. And when you have rescued the descendants of your future self, then you have been pushed up to this pinnacle where people outside will not come to you. You will not be saying, you need my help. People will be coming to you saying, I need your help, because you have rescued the future self, and that future self is speaking to the future self that they want to manifest, and that future timeline is what is bringing you together now. But when you're rescuing somebody who doesn't want to be rescued, you're disturbing their journey, you're trying to stop them from facing their destiny. And sometimes, like, a person needs to go through what they're going through to understand. You know, if they're running from confronting something, you're not, stop nonsense. It's not your job. You can tell a person that, listen, you're running, but it's not your job to stand and and be the thing that they smash into. That's not your job, you know, because what it is that a person will fight the entity, the specter of the thing that they're in a child wound, right? And you're going to
yeah.
see the symptoms, right? But like, if that person's not prepared to do the work, the work only works if you work
I have
it, you know?
soon.
Oh,
So
absolutely. No, we're about to wrap up in the next 7 minutes or
yeah,
two. We
I
can.
have a call with the lawyer, so I've got to bounce.
No, totally. So I say all that to say this: the free course is going to be available on Teachable. It is, whether you access it on any of these, it's not free entirely. This is like all the resources you need for the revolution that we could supply you with. If you can't afford to enroll in peering into consciousness. You can't afford to enroll in pivoting into purpose. You can't afford these different things. This is the thing that you take. You want to build a relationship with your ancestors, right? You want to build a relationship with your money. You want to make it all work. When I say idlozi lizazenzela, and it really does, where am I coming from? Because I've had a wealth coach for 14 years. I'm not just doing this. I've been coached myself on this part, the money part, right? And then I've also ngitwasile, and I've built the relationship with my ancestors. And that relationship is what gives you the reassurance to continue to endure. And when you are in those, if you're in that situation, the resources are there. And those are really incredible, incredible works. There's things to do when you're in a place of deep fear, things to do when you're in a place of asking your ancestors to take action. That's actually one that I really love. I had it as a bonus in pivoting into purpose, but people were like, no, it's too forceful for them. They were like, it just goes too much. And I think because it's not what pivoting into purpose was about, but I thought it was a really great lesson and I wanted to share it with them. And so we're going to take it out of that curriculum and we're going to put it in this curriculum because it is that one where you are frustrated and you say, I cannot be facing this, and not in my name, not in your name, and it's in there. And we use every modality available to us. We're doing EFT tapping, we're doing cyclical, basically allowing my sister and I to tap and channel concurrently our ancestors, at the same time holding space, and then holding space for her to do her practical work and me on my side, and then again going into the cycle of getting into the heart of the matter with the help of our ancestors, so that we emerge out of these things, out of the struggles that we face, understanding that this was what my soul asked for me to show up as my best self. We will put the link to sign up there. It's a donation base. You pay what you can until such a time as we put up a price. And when we do, we'll let you know. That's me. I'm so happy to have seen you. I haven't seen you because you're always awoko semazwini. Hamba. Hamba. Go. I love you. Thank you. Akubongwa.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. I learned quite a bit today about birth order and astrology. So I was like sitting and listening intently. Thank you, everyone, for coming through. I'm going to send Honey the links to everything that is on the Wealthy Money side, which is the 7-day tapping into ancestral money training.
But Teachable, let us make it one cosmos, just one place that they just tap into.
Not really, because that is under the Wealthy Money Academy. So
okay, so we'll just do the same. It's the same thing,
right? Whereas your guidance is that this one has to be donations based.
Remember when we first had the conversation, Bengelem Samo, and I sent you a voice note and sliding scale.
It's completely
the sliding
separate.
scale. No, not the free stuff. The sliding scale for all the stuff that we've done, the paid bonuses for like our high-end clients that like, yeah, that's what I was saying needs to, that's the course I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. That's why I'm saying I'm going to give you the link for the 7-day training so people can sign up to that. And then if they want the work, they can also sign up to that. Those are the two things. And I know for a fact that the 7-day training is absolutely incredible. And yeah, this was really, really great.
It's life-changing. I remember when the bank account challenge was for free, and it's like I turned around debt-free, South of France, what the but being me, I was in debt again 2 years later, and then I turned around.
But okay, guys, I have to go. Otherwise, I'll be on this call forever. I'm supposed to hop on a call with a lawyer ASAP. I have other things on the back end today. So thank you so much. I can't see Honey again. I think she's frozen. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that this conversation helped. I know that we'll go deeper, especially if you join the 7-day training around understanding your relationship with money and understanding how to use activism to your benefit by and using money for activism. Have a fantastic day further. Have a fantastic evening, depending where you are in the world. Cheers.